Hi, this is Kevin from Kevin's Micro Homestead, and today I want to do episode 2 of the tiny house build, and we're going to focus on the foundation and the floor framing. And so I've got a demonstration right here as for a 8 by 8 foot framing for a small building or tiny home, and I'm going to show you how we laid that out and put it together. First thing I want to show you is lumber, and this is a piece of a 2x4, and it's called a 2x4, but it's actually not 2 inches by 4 inches as you would suspect. It starts out that way when they first cut it out of the tree, but when they do the planing on all 4 sides, it brings it down to 3.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and I'll show you why that's important in a minute. Same thing with a 2x6. Here's a little piece of 2x6. Again, it's 5.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and so we have to take that into consideration when we're laying out the framing. So what I've got here is 2 end plates right here and right here, and then these are my floor joists running in between them, and my total dimension outside is 8 foot by 8 foot, which is 96 inches. So I need to make sure that when I cut these floor frames that I've taken into consideration that these are 1.5 inches wide on either end. So if I'm 96 inches all the way across, I have to take 3 inches out off from the 2 plates, so these are going to be 93 inches long in between. And that's why it's important to know that dimension. So let me show you how I laid that out, and then I'll show you how we put it together. What I've got here is a couple of 2x4 studs, and those are going to be my top plate and my bottom plate on my frame. And so I want to go 16-inch centers on my frame, and I'm going to lay that out. So I lay the two together so that they're even, and I start by coming in 1.5 inches on my measurement, because my 2x4s are 1.5 inches thick. You can see that. So I make a mark at 1.5 inches on both of these, and that's going to be my first stringer going across there, so I put an X on that so I could see it real easy when I go across. So the tape measure is laid out in increments of 1 foot, and they're also in 16-inch increments, so I can just come across here and go to my first 16-inch. Just got a little mark right there. I center that, and then my board is 1.5 inches wide, so I need to come 3/4 of an inch to either side and make my mark so that I've got 1.5 inches across here, and then I do an X so I can spot it real easy when I get done. So I just go right on down to the end of my framing, and I do the same thing. I got 32 inches, made my marks, 48 inches, and made my marks all the way down. So then I transfer that over, which I've already done here, to the next stud by just taking my speed square and going like this and lining up. So I've got a mark on both sides, and I X'd it out so I'd spot it. Okay, so then I'm going to spread those apart when I get done marking them out. And I put my floor studs in between, line them up in between the 2 marks. If I'm doing, get over here out of the way a second. So I would lay the next one right in here, line it up on my center, and do the same thing. And then I just screw or nail through the end of the top plate and the bottom plate to fasten these together. Okay, so then when I'm all done, if you look at the framing over here, I've got my first beginning floor stud, and then in 16-inch increments I've laid out each one of these floor frames all the way down and nailed them on. So I've got a full frame, top and bottom plate, and all my stringers. Now I went 16 inches on center because that's going to give me a strong enough frame to walk on and bear weight of the building without being spongy and squishy. Okay, that's a technical term. So I've laid this frame out, and I'll show you two different ways to put in a foundation for a small building like this. One of them is this pier system right here, and that's about a 40-pound concrete block, and you can either go pier it like this so the 2x4 sits in the pocket. If you wanted to raise it up higher, you could put a 4x4. You can see this is a square hole here, and that's for a pocket for a 4x4 to come straight up, and then you could nail this to it and have it at any level you want to put. If you're on unlevel land, or you want to be higher up off the ground, or whatever it is you're doing. So what I've done is I've put it into the block, and this is bringing it up off the ground about 6 inches, and it sits nice on here. This concrete is specially formulated for the denseness of this block so that it supports the weight and they don't break. This block's been outside for 15 years already, and you don't see anything but dirt on it. So in this building, I did this on 4-foot centers. So I've got a corner block 4 foot up, I've got another block, and then again at 8 foot I've got a block there. Same thing coming across here. I've got my 4-foot center, and then at 8 foot again. So I've done that on a grid all the way around the building, and I've got a good sturdy foundation. And so I'll show you how I make a mark real quick here, because this one's not center yet. So I'm coming out here to 4 feet, and I take a mark, and what I do is I make a check mark like that, because I can spot it real easy on the frame when I'm looking for it, and then I can just center that out, and I'm on my 4 foot. Okay, so another way to do that would be on skids, on pressure treated 4x4s or 4x6s. A small building like this, a 4x4 is plenty, and this is just a scrap of 4x4 I laid here to illustrate, and I've cut it at an angle because it acts as a skid when it's sitting on here, and you attach these together. I can actually pull this building around on the ground because it's small enough, and so if I want to reposition it around my yard, I can actually drag it if I need to, and so that would run the full length underneath of the building. And you can come in 2 feet and lay them. You might want to put 3 under here so that you got a good stiff one. Keeps it from sagging. So 3 8-foot or 10-foot 4x4s laying out underneath there, and attach the frame to that, and you've got a pressure treated piece of wood holding it up off the ground. You got good air circulation underneath there so it stays dry, and this building will last forever. So that's framing. When I get it all set on the piers, I want to make sure I'm square, and so the way I find out if I'm square or not is simply to measure from corner to corner going both ways, and I want that measurement to be the same. And if it's not, then I just adjust the frame, because it will rack back and forth right now before I put sheeting on it. The sheeting is the key to the structure being good and stiff. So I want to be 135 3/4 inches across right here, which I am, and then I just check to see if it does the same thing going the other direction. If I can get it to hang on there. And I am. If I wasn't, I could just move this in and out a little bit, split the difference, and I'd come up with where I wanted to be. So now I'm square, and I can go to the next step, which is the sheeting or the flooring, and I'll cover that on the next video. So if you want to follow along as we build, and you have any questions, you can certainly comment and ask questions. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can keep up with the new videos as they come out. I'm also going to be doing commentaries and extended blog posts on my blog, Kevin's Micro Homestead, and I'll put the tags for that underneath so you can get to them. Subscribe to both so you don't miss out on any information, and I'll see you next time.